From New York, it's That Kevin Show.
See, I knew it.
Come on, Kev. What's a few classified documents between friends?
I told you all the time. I knew it. I knew he had some too.
Here he is, That Kevin. Kevin McCullough.
And welcome back from Times Square. Kevin McCullough, That Kevin Show. Glad to have you with us, and glad to welcome back Hogan Gidley, who was on with us a couple of Saturdays ago, but unless you were just listening by way of radio, you didn't get it, because that night on TV, all of the channels, including Salem News Channel, were preempted by the assassination attempt on Donald J. Trump. And the crazy weird 9-10 days that followed that, I have to say, I think it's the strangest, most unique stretch of political days in a row I've ever seen. And I've been following elections since the 84 nomination of Reagan. So it goes back a ways. But here to discuss is J. Hogan Gidley. Hogan, we haven't spoken since. In fact, you were scheduled to be on with me that night. And I think you were sad because Tim McGraw was going to be on as our music artist. But the assassination, the convention, I'm staying in, I'm driving a Dodge Stratus, to then Biden getting out, and kind of the force feeding of endorsements to Kamala Harris. I don't even know where to begin, but let's start with the assassination. Where were you and how did it come down for you at that moment?
Yeah, I was actually watching on television, various news programs, but I flipped away for a moment and I got a text from an office holder in another state who said, "Shots fired." And I thought to myself, it was a euphemism for someone attacking that person on Twitter. So I immediately went to the person's Twitter page. I started looking and I was like, wait a minute. Did someone go after this person? Did someone say something nasty or whatever? I couldn't find it. Then a few minutes went by, a few seconds went by. My mother called me and I didn't take the call because I was trying to figure out what was going on. And then all of a sudden on Twitter, I saw what was happening. And I remember when I turned on the television, the first image I saw was the podium, people piled on Donald Trump. Then they replayed it. And what I saw from the replay was him stand up and start to walk, but he had his MAGA hat. He was holding his red hat, that famous iconic hat, up against his chest. So all I saw against the white shirt, I thought that was blood. And I immediately just kind of lost it for a second. And then as they replayed it, being an avid hunter and a shooter, I kind of saw what was going on and I had my own little thoughts there, but I watched him. He went down on his own accord. He put himself on the ground. And when he did that in the replay, I thought, okay, I think he's okay. And then of course, when he stood up in that iconic shot, you want to talk about a leader and a legend. When he stood up and put that clenched fist in the air and screamed out, "Fight, fight, fight." It wasn't just to let people there know he was okay. He had the wherewithal and the understanding that in that tumultuous moment, he had to let the world know, I'm okay. And we're here to fight and we're going to keep this thing going. I'm blown away. I'm humbled by what this man has gone through, attacking his friends, his family, him personally, his businesses, his associates, everybody else, in the wake of Donald Trump's political ascension has been targeted and attacked. And now they literally tried to assassinate, and by they, I mean this particular shooter tried to assassinate the president of the United States. And then a few days later, they politically assassinate Joe Biden. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it is really remarkable that the party that has been saying that Donald Trump poses a threat to democracy basically did away with all democracy in getting to their nominee is going to be one of the undercurrents of the rest of this election for sure. I want to go back to that picture, though. I wrote an entire column about that New York Times reporter or whoever took that shot grabbing that. And, the optical illusion of where his fist is raised and it looks like he's holding the string of the flag that's flying, many, many hundreds of feet above him. But it's just the whole thing. It's raising Old Glory on Iwo Jima. It's the towers coming down in Lower Manhattan. It is iconic. It will never not be a piece now of American iconography, and it really did capture the moment in such a stark way. I want to move to the convention because Hogan, I've been at many of these. I've seen many of them up close. I did not think that the McCain or Romney conventions were particularly effective. I thought George W. Bush coming back after 9/11, of course, kind of was tailor-made for what he wanted to do in New York City, et cetera. But in terms of your average political convention. I thought this thing was so much different by way of crescendo and getting to the maximum point of impact. And I will tell you, it was fun to have the superstars, the Hulk Hogan's and Kid Rock and all the rest of them. It was fun to have them. They didn't move people. The everyday stories of everyday people, those connected emotionally, those jumped out of the television screens into people's hearts. And I've never seen anything that effective put together before. What was your thought?
Yeah, I haven't. Real quick, though, about that image. I don't think there's a more iconic political image since George Bush stood on that thing with the bullhorn and said the people who brought these towers down will hear us all soon. I can't think of one. But as far as the convention's concerned, you're right. I've been to many of these. I was blown away at the unity of it. It was so unified. You could tell a lot because of the stars they had up there. When Amber Rose got up there, I got a lot of people in the box I was in saying, "Who is this?" And I was like, "Don't ask, just you Google it. I don't have time to explain it. You just go figure it out." And then the president of the Teamsters Union, Hulk Hogan, as you mentioned, and
all of his
Dana
political
White,
opponents, everybody that ran against him in 16, Rubio, Cruz, everybody that ran against him in 2024.
So trying to expand that tent and show people we are a party of inclusion, and having the mothers up there who couldn't make ends meet, the mother who lost their children to fentanyl overdoses coming in across the southern border. There was a woman up there screaming and crying that about her son who was killed in that Afghanistan at Abbey Gate, and Joe Biden didn't say anything apologetic at all. I mean, it was so heartwarming to see how the policies that this administration has really impacted the American people and how much they wanted a return to those policies from Donald Trump. It really was an exclamation point on what has been a 2-week stretch of incredibly good news for Donald Trump, when Republicans typically don't get 2 hours of good news.
Right. Well, let's go back to the end of the week now, because when the following weekend, when Joe Biden, after the campaign fiercely all week long after the Republican convention, not going to happen, not going to happen, not going to happen. It happened. And Kamala Harris is the heir apparent. And, immediately the Clintons come out with an endorsement. And then there's, 38 or 40 congressional people, elected leaders saying, but there were some interesting people that did not endorse. Obama did not endorse right away. There's others that did not immediate. And the real question will be, do they put her through as the nominee without basically any democratic process? And if so, does that disaffect the 14 million people that voted for Biden?
Well, remember, of that 14 million, 75% of Democrats said they didn't think Joe Biden should be at the top of the ticket. So they probably did exactly what they wanted them to do. And listen, when was the last time Democrats cared about the law or rules? They'll flip all that, turn it all on its head just to go ahead and get whatever they want done, because it's about gaining and maintaining political power. As far as Kamala Harris is concerned, I think she's going to be useful until she's not. And the chances of that happening at or before the convention are high, because Kamala Harris doesn't poll that well against Donald Trump either. And as more and more stuff begins to come out about her, no one wants this country to be California, not to mention the failures she had from the policy standpoint in the Biden administration, but previous. Remember, she ranked like 8th amongst black voters in the Democrat primary behind a fake Indian, Elizabeth Warren.
Well, and a lot of that had to do with putting black men in prison.
Stick around for more of That Kevin. Next, That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough.